don't you just say hello, Sean? You don't need a topic to talk about. Don't be bashful, Sean. Let me just read the disclosure. I'm an associate member of T3 Trading Group, which is an SEC registered broker-dealer and member of FINRA SIPC. All trades placed by me are through T3 Trading Group. You should carefully consider whether trading is suitable for you in light of your own financial condition. Here's a position disclosure. I just added one new position today in this QUBT, which I will discuss. And briefly here, let me turn the video camera back on.
That's not about video.
I can't get it to move over, so you got to move over this way a little bit. We have Sean here, the CEO of T3.
What's up, everybody?
To say hello and give you guys some inspiring words. I'll just totally put him on the spot.
I actually don't have any inspiring words, and I'll leave all of that to Derrick, but it sounds like this group has grown massively. I'm so happy to see it. Do I trade? Yes, I am. My background's in black box automated trading, so if anybody ever has questions, and I'll love to talk about it more, just because we have co-locations out in NASDAQ, Carteret, Mahwah, all the different locations. We execute with everybody from Archipelago, Instinet, all the way out to dark pools and things like that. But I've been doing that since 2003, 2004, and that's been a very successful part of T3's background. So I get the markets really well. The market structure, and Derrick has probably told you, is broken a little bit right now, as we could see, run by retail. That's what I call it. Institutions and hedge funds I don't think are involved as much. But from my standpoint, there's always money to be made. There's idiosyncratic stocks that Derrick is probably pointing out, and the guys in the room. But I love the chat. I've been looking at it, and definitely a lot of guys have some really good ideas, bringing up new individual stocks. So that's pretty cool. And Derrick put me on the spot, and I don't know what else to talk about. But I'm excited to be on and give a special appearance. But if anybody ever wants me to talk about any of this stuff, would love to do it, and I'm always around. But definitely listen to Derrick.
Awesome, man. Thanks, Sean. Appreciate it. All right. Okay, so I guess let's jump into our meeting here. Looks like Jared posted the YouTube link, which I appreciate. Pat, I think, is still at the doctor or on his way back from the doctor or something like that. So you guys are totally stuck with me here. SPYs are down 0.3%. Qs are flat. And the IWM got smoked today. IWM is down 1.3%. Got absolutely destroyed. Yeah, let's talk about this market here. Definitely some surprises. The biggest surprise to me right now has been the consistency of the relative weakness in the IWM and the consistency of the relative strength in the Qs. And maybe it shouldn't be a surprise because it's kind of been that way for years in some regards. But I really just mean with this interest rate situation, TLT getting smoked for 5 days and then capturing a big bid. I guess it made sense to see some relative weakness from the IWM on a bunch of days. It made sense to see relative weakness from the IWM today. But the last several days, the consistent weakness has definitely been of some concern. And we talked about this in yesterday's afternoon meeting. This candle here, this 11:15 candle, is a little bit of a warning signal, right? We should have broken these two inside days to the upside here on November 15th. And we gapped up that day and we failed hard. And the IWM was very relatively weak, despite the fact that interest rates were moving higher that day. And, tried to hold up yesterday. And then today we lost this low, So whereas with the SPYs and the Qs, that date, this November 10th date, has really been confirmed to us to basically be our pivot low in the uptrend. And the SPYs got, pennies away from making new all-time highs yesterday. Took a little bit of a rest day today, just an inside day for the SPYs, not the end of the world. Qs held up a little bit better. Though this candle is not great here for the Qs. What's happening with NVIDIA after hours right now? It doesn't look like we got the report yet, just based on the price action. What'd you say? I think it's at 420. 420. Funding secured. Yeah, this Q candle here, I'm not in love with this Q candle, to be honest. I don't want to overread it, but same thing with the Qs. We really got our pivot low down here, and we worked our way higher, back to almost all-time highs today. It really seemed like it was the Apple Tesla show today. Almost everything else I was looking at, even NVIDIA, which I got on one of my screens right now, waiting for the earnings report to hit. Even NVIDIA was really disappointing. It was like a bullish-looking pattern today that broke down. I understand maybe not a lot of new money is coming to work ahead of the earnings report. Does make some sense. But it seemed like outside of Apple, which was beastie, and we could talk about that, there was a good little day trade there for us. And Tesla, which had a good early run again today, that rolled over a little bit in the afternoon. It seemed like almost everything I was looking at was just like super disappointing. I bet breadth was terrible today. Even though, let's see, SPYs are down 0.25% and Qs are flat. I would bet that the breadth today was terrible. And a lot of that probably does come from this weakness here in the IWM. So, I would still argue that the IWM is in bull territory. We are still above the 21 EMA. We are still above our breakout level. The spot that I was talking about in the VTF today was the 11.3 low, where we really broke out on bigger volume here for the Russell. That 11.3 low is 233.92. I don't want to lose that. Today we went to as low as almost 235. 21 EMA has been rapidly catching up. So, if we lose this low, the IWM might have some problems. But the SPYs and the Qs are still fully intact. My swing positions were not great today. I think that probably coincides with the fact that breadth was probably pretty poor. The vast majority of my swing trades today were negative. But we did have a couple decent day trades, and we also had a couple disappointing trades. The one that I had the most amount of conviction on was probably my biggest disappointment, was this Bed Bath & Beyond. I still don't know what happened after hours yesterday. I don't know if anybody's got any feedback on that. But Bed Bath & Beyond started running after hours yesterday when we were doing our meeting. And I was trading it. I was trading it during the meeting yesterday. I was trading it after the meeting yesterday. I was trading it pre-market this morning. And I was pumped to try to go long versus, yesterday's high type of thing. And I know that off the open, it broke that by a little bit, and then it gave a really strong rally. But this candle stinks, man. $24 is a resistance level here, and I was like, okay, with whatever started happening after hours, plus an inside day and up with this ADMA catching up, let's buy this thing early. Let's look for this break at 24. I was super pumped for this trade today. And it gave a decent opening move. Hopefully no one got shaken out here on this first little low. But it gave a decent opening move, to above $24. I had an ad at $23 at the open this morning. And, I was really pumped about this price action just for this thing to totally fail. Look at the volume on the stop outs here when the low broke. And I keep saying it. I was saying it on my bike ride when I was, they got me they got me, where is it? Hopefully I didn't lose it already. My desk is a little bit of a mess. Don't tell anybody. Oh, it's in my sweatshirt pocket, which is right here. They got me this, motorcycle phone thing to connect to my city bike, actually, so I can film little videos and stuff. So they've actually been posting those on the TikTok each day, kind of just my thoughts on the trading day when I am biking into the office. And by that point, I've usually already done a little bit of trading and a little bit of research, but I do the more brunt work of my research when I'm actually here at the office. And why am I bringing this up again? I totally forgot. But Bed Bath & Beyond for sure was one of the things that I was pumped about, even biking in this morning. I was talking about it, here into this thing. So that's probably on TikTok if they posted it. The video's up. Yeah. So I don't know. This Bed Bath & Beyond just turned into just a huge disappointment. I was really excited for that trade. And it's just a gross candle. Oh, now I remember why I brought this up. Because I was like, where are the apes? Felipe, where are the apes, man? Where are the apes? How come the apes are not all over this Bed Bath & Beyond? I think the apes are dead. They're either dead or they're slumbering. Because you want to create a short squeeze in a decent company. You even got the company itself on your side trying to make it happen. Where are the apes? I don't know. They weren't there today. So, I don't know. Bed Bath & Beyond, super disappointing. But my best name and my best trade of the day was this INSG, which I think Dan Hockman and maybe Steve in the VTF have been calling this name out a lot. I've been in it. It's a 5G play. 5G is benefiting from the infrastructure bill, which hopefully gets fully passed. At least hopefully for this position. And this thing woke up with a breakaway gap here, really above like the 725, 750. Actually, it wasn't a breakaway gap. It was a gap and go, but it was through resistance very early on. So I know Colin was actually bringing this one up in the VTF this morning as well. I don't remember if I brought it up in the morning meeting, but I know really early on in the day I was buying this, and I kept shouting about it into the VTF, like, INSG, INSG, INSG. And keep in mind, this is an IWM component. This is an IWM component, and the IWM got smoked today, and this thing was still able to be up, 9% or whatever it is. These quantum computing names here are running a little bit, this QUBT. Which I'm also going to talk about in a second. So anyway, the INSG turned into being my best trade. Just the opening volume here was fantastic, and it held up really well despite the IWM was getting slaughtered, and it closed on highs. So INSG, really solid one today. Another disappointing one was the CLF. CLF was relatively strong pre-market, so I was eyeballing it. Look at the opening volume here, fantastic. Look at the opening momentum that came in, fantastic. Felipe was trading it with me, I think, and then this was another one. Just gross. Ended up failing, going negative. They sold this bounce right into the equilibrium area really hard. So that was another wishy-washy, kind of disappointing one, along with Bed Bath & Beyond. Another disappointing one was this plug. I didn't really trade this plug. I'm starting to get a little bit nervous about these EV stocks, man. And we could talk about SEV also, which was a new IPO today that was just insane. But I'm starting to get a little bit nervous about the degree of the move in some of these things, and even a stock like Plug or Fuel Cell. I know it got upgraded, our price target increased today, so it was on some of you guys' radar. I spoke about it. I mean, look, if you're going based on pure technicals, this thing does look great coming into today, plus it gets a price target increase from whatever analyst. So there's plenty of reasons here for guys to be looking to buy it, but this was another one that just great opening run here, then just to totally fail. Whereas Apple was money today, and we were all over this Apple. I was looking at Apple when we were doing our morning meeting, and I think yesterday as well, I was like, this Apple has just been so sloppy in this area. 150 is not really that important anymore. 152 is the real resistance. So I was like, I guess we could look at a scalp type trade through 152 today at Apple. And I actually didn't pay attention when it went through this 152 initially. I'm not sure if any of you guys traded it there, but the real trade that we spoke about in the VTF as a team, and I know several of you caught this trade, which makes me happy, was the inside 5 here at 9:55 a.m. Oh, he hasn't responded to me. I haven't heard back. Glenn, do you want to say, do you have any messages for the people on the virtual trading floor? So we're doing special guests today.
Buy low, sell high.
I'm gonna move over so they can see you, Glenn. Camera's right here.
Oh, okay. Well, I have a face made for radio.
So we're getting lots of visits, right? We had the CEO visit. Now we got the chief compliance officer visiting. You couldn't quite, I guess, figure out where the camera was. Just here. But anyway, he just closed his office door, so now we can say bad things. Anyway, I'm just kidding. We love compliance here at T3. We're all very compliant, and they have a really important function here for us, keeping us safe. They really do keep us safe. Compliance, they keep us safe from FINRA and the SEC by making sure that we do all the right things. So it is a really important job. Anyway, hopefully no other executive type people come and interrupt this meeting. The great call out in Apple today at about 10 a.m. was this inside 5. And this is awesome because we just did a little lesson in yesterday's afternoon meeting about this type of candle. When do we like inside fives? Specifically when we have other things to like about the stock. What is there to like about Apple? 152 is a major resistance level. It's showing beautiful relative strength. The volume on it is really good. End bullish option flow. Bullish option flow is hitting. So you have all those things coming together. This thing pulls back into that 152 area. I don't advocate buying this on the way down. Gives you the inside 5, gives you the inside 5 and up. And again, I know a whole bunch of you guys took this trade, which is great. Then it built out this ascending triangle here. The ascending triangle broke to the upside at 11 a.m. And then you guys got fantastic follow through up to 155 in this thing. Close wasn't great, but at the end of the day here, the daily candle in Apple is certainly not bad. Just a great company to like. You should just like always permanently be long this one, I guess. So that is Yablika. And I guess the only other thing to talk about today is this quantum computing stuff that I have a position in now. This IONQ. I still didn't watch the. You said it was CNBC, right, Stefan? I still didn't watch that. I had to try to find it. But yeah, I mean, I've known about the quantum computing space for a little bit, and it's definitely a space that I'm really interested in. My argument on the quantum computing thing is I really think it's going to be dominated by the people who are already the big players, namely Microsoft and Google, maybe IBM. I think IBM is also involved a little bit. So I never even knew or realized that there were smaller companies that were trying to be involved in the space, and I honestly don't know how they're going to be able to compete, again, with like a Microsoft or a Google. But at least for now, the market's running these things. This IONQ looks like it was a SPAC. Initially traded down after it turned into its actual company, worked its way higher, and then once it broke highs here, once it broke this 12 quarter, it looks like it's been really strong ever since then. And then I guess it had whatever meeting from yesterday, or video from yesterday that I guess was on CNBC, woke this thing up in a huge way on huge volume, and it totally beasted. So on this, we were looking at a couple secondary type plays that are also in the space. So we brought up this SNII, which I'm guessing is also a SPAC play, and this QUBT, which is the one that I ended up getting involved in, which also had a really big day yesterday. So I had to be, you guys know I don't like buying day twos, so I had to be a little bit cautious on how I bought this and kind of how I built into the trade, because I don't like buying day twos. So I wanted to give myself room on this to really be able to build in. So I bought a decent sized position, but not so huge that I would be in trouble at $6 in this thing. And the original game plan for me was to build in all the way down to yesterday's low if I have to, and kind of continue to study and monitor the stock and look for the right areas to potentially get heavier. And honestly, this thing was garbage all day until the close. There's some good opening volatility here, but then super weak compared to IONQ, which was positive all day, or this SNII, which was flattish kind of all day, and they all woke up in a really big way into the close. My understanding of quantum computing, and I still don't fully understand how these smaller players are going to be able to be the leaders in the space. So I don't really know anything about these three specific companies, but I now have a position in this QUBT that's running here after hours. Is that quantum computing is going to be able to do stuff that we just almost like can't even imagine now, like really be able to be the secret sauce that can figure out, name your problem, whether it's viruses or climate change or any of that stuff. You need this level of computing that is almost like beyond human beings to be able to come together on it. So it's definitely an interesting space. It's obviously in its infancy, but it's one of those areas I really think is very cool. So I think it's worth keeping an eye on these stocks. That IONQ is obviously already gone and super extended, but this QUBT seems like it has a lot of volatility. Look at the run that this thing had when all those other speculative names were also having bubbles. December, this thing was, can't even see the high on my chart, $25 it ripped up to in a very short period of time last December. Obviously came all the way back down, but with these occasional really big spikes, including, I don't know why, a really big spike here on the 9th on big volume. So yeah, so I got a position in that thing as well. And that is all I think I've got. SEV was the IPO of the day today. This thing was nuts. Solar electric vehicle. SEV. Solar electric vehicle. Absolute monster. Multiple halts early on when it first opened up, which was difficult. But Big Z, what did you say? You bought 2305 or something like that at the open? Sick. This pullback was hard though, I bet. But it never broke the opening low. And then closed at $39. I gotta say, I'm starting to get nervous about these pre-revenue IPOs though. So we'll see how this one goes. Okay, I have got nothing else for you guys. So I'm happy to take a look at whatever you guys got. So I'm going to scroll up here into the VTF to about 10 after 4. Yes, I was joking about MGI, David. What's Cisco doing here after hours? Down. Yeah, Cisco getting smoked after hours. Cisco sees adjusted EPS. It looks like it's in line for 2022 from Shane. And then they beat EPS and sales missed. I mean, based on that, it doesn't look terrible. Did NVIDIA come out yet? What's NVIDIA doing up? Yeah, NVIDIA is up about $7 here, $8 from where it closed. NVIDIA beats by 6 cents. Revenues beat. Guides higher. Numbers look solid. Wonder how much of it's priced in already based on the move. It's been a huge run in this NVIDIA into this report. Guess we'll see tomorrow. All right. Up to Ryan here. Ryan's question. If a stock is overextended in the pre-market, are you talking about a daily chart? Is there a benchmark percentage increase number to determine whether or not it's worth pursuing? WKDY as an example. WKDY? I'm not getting a symbol. I'm not getting anything for WKD. WDay. Got you. It's kind of what I thought you mentioned. No problem. Let's scroll back up to your question. Okay. So if a stock is overextended pre-market, so again, when you say pre-market, I assume that you mean based on the daily chart, based on how the stock is gapping, right? I'm assuming that is what you mean. And then the question is there a percentage of extension where it's not worth pursuing? And unfortunately for this question, there's definitely no one-size-fits-all for it, because stocks are unique from one another, and in addition to stocks being unique from one another, if there's an event, that can change it as well. So first of all, when you're looking at degrees of extension, which is basically what you're describing, and you're trying to look at it from a percentage basis, which is also the right way to do it, there's certain types of stocks that can become much more extended much more easily than others, right? So basically tech type stocks, momentum stocks, right? The list of, crazy speculative names that we've published here in the VTF on occasion, those stocks have the ability to become much more extended than like a Coca-Cola does, or even a Microsoft does. That tends to be, more of a grindy type name. There's not really any reason, for the most part, for like a Coca-Cola or a Procter & Gamble to start exhibiting major signs of momentum. And it's specifically momentum that can make an extended stock even more extended. And it is also specifically when there is additional volume or news that can make a stock that's extended even more overextended. So you could be looking at something that's extended away from its ADMA by 5%, and next thing you know, 2 days later, it's extended from its ADMA by 15%. And that's when I find, and again, this is talking in very generality type terms here, I typically find that if I'm seeing any stock extended from its ADMA by more than 10%, you're starting to get pretty serious there, which still doesn't mean that it can't continue. So whether or not it's kind of worth chasing or pursuing also depends on the situation. It depends on the type of name. It depends on what the volume looks like. Are we still seeing option flow come in? That's a big one also. You know, a lot of times when we're seeing these stocks that are already extended become significantly more extended, the option flow, the bull flow is just piling in, and it's just creating a gamma squeeze that's ripping the stock. And that's what we saw in Tesla, right? I think it was on like this day in particular, on October 25th. Look at it. This thing gapped up that day. At the opening price this day, Tesla was extended by $50 on a $900 stock, right? So decent degree. By the end of the day, or by highs, the stock was extended by $1,500. Just totally sick move here. And that was the day where we saw, I remember Pat just posting it all day. It was just like bull flow, sweep, push action, Tesla. And it just kept running, and then, you know, obviously continued that for even days after. This thing managed to stay extended for 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8, 9, 10 trading sessions before it had a little touch of the ADMA. It went completely parabolic. It was just sick. So there is no real kind of general rule for it. It's on a case-by-case basis. I do struggle mentally, and maybe, you know, it's kind of like Stefan was joking earlier about like being like, I want to make money, so I'm just going to be the dumb money now. You know, sometimes I think I definitely get in my own head where I can't get myself to buy Tesla, you know, at $975 because or $980 because I'm seeing the degree of extension there. And if I could just be dumb money and not know as much, maybe I would have just taken the offer on Tesla and, you know, made $70. But again, you know, it's still never really based on one-offs. It's about making money in the long run. But to make a counterpoint to myself on that, you can make money in the long run when you see that degree of option flow coming in, even when it's that extended. So, again, no real direct answer for you on your question. Your question is a very good one because you need to kind of analyze and understand all the other factors that are out there. So that is that. The apes evolved. Next question I'm seeing here is from Rich. What does high volume but no follow through really mean? I was trading pen at 1040. I was trading pen at 1040 with the highest volume of the day. It failed at 1105. I tried again after another hammer on even higher volume, which failed again. I know you said hammers don't mean reversal, just mean getting back to equilibrium, so I wasn't heavy in it. I just wanted to know what to do next time I see high volume that leads to nothing. Sure. So a few things here. First of all, we say that volume is confirmation. Volume is definitely not the end-all be-all. It's just an extra layer of probability. So like looking at this first one as an example, volume here looks great, you know, big pickup on volume here, but you have zero extension. So I don't like this as a risk reward of a purchase. What makes me like it more though is that this thing is super beaten up and you're buying it in front of yesterday's low. So I don't love your trade here because I don't like this extension, but I like the volume and I like the bigger picture spot, which, you know, we discussed in yesterday's afternoon meeting, the importance of the bigger picture spot. Now, when it comes to volume, I less like when it's just one bar. I'm more like when the volume is consistently unusually high. Like, you know, not a great example, but Apple here today, the volume stayed decently consistently high. That's really what we want to see. Now, one other thing that you really got to pay attention to when you're looking at one-off bars, and this can throw you a little bit sometimes, is sometimes if you see high volume in one bar, it actually doesn't really mean anything, and it's because of one print. So the question is, is this bar here, these 5-minute bars in pen, are they trading on high volume because all of a sudden there was a ton of transactions and the speed of the tape was running really fast? Or are they trading on high volume because there was one large out-of-market trade, one large out-of-market print, one large dark pool print that went off at those times that was like a 150,000 share out-of-market print? If it's the one print in that case, that's a dark pool print, which I'm kind of actually guessing it was in this case, though I can't know for sure without actually seeing it, it does not mean as much. It does not mean as much. And that doesn't mean as much for a variety of reasons, including the fact that dark pools don't have the same reporting rules that trading in the light market does. So sometimes you see a dark pool print go off, and it could have just taken place at that moment, but it could have even happened before the market even opened that day, and they're only actually reporting it that right now, in which case it definitely doesn't matter as much, like just one big block trade. The volume is important when there's consistency behind it. Like again, when the tape is really speeding up, there's so many prints going off. That's what's causing the volume to really pick up. That stock is, breaking down and hammering back up because there was a genuine switch from sellers to buyers in that period of time. If it's just one print, you don't really have that, which again is what I think happened in here. And you should be able to see in your level 2 the prints. Like this 1,000 share print right here, that's an out-of-market dark pool print in NVIDIA that just went off. And obviously the tape in NVIDIA here is moving decently rapid because it's trading on earnings here after hours. But there's another 1,000 share dark pool print that was a hidden print at $300.74. So I do like to see those. And those aren't meaningless either. Sometimes when you get those really big prints that go off, it's the end of an institutional seller that found a buyer for the rest of the order, and then you do see the stock switch. There's some big institution there that has to sell however many millions of shares of stock, and they're selling it, and then there's 300,000 shares left, and then they find a buyer on the dark pool to take all the remaining 300,000 shares left to sell in one shot. Now the seller's gone and the stock switches. So it can mean something. I do pay attention to it, but it's definitely not the same as like the real volume consistency or volume increasing and then maximizing at a bottom. Like that's what we definitely want to see. But great question there, Rich. From the chef himself, Chef Case, something like that. Fuel cell plug have big market caps. BE is a better value play. Yeah, I definitely have some concerns about fuel cell and plug when they start getting to these prices. This BE has had a bigger move as well. I really don't know anything about the fundamentals of these guys. But yeah, this BE little hammer off the 21 EMA today or yesterday. I'm going to keep my QEBT. Yeah, I'm keeping my QEBT also into tomorrow. Nice little rally here after the close. Okay. That could definitely happen, Gabriel. I would love to see that. Gabriel made a comment that maybe the smaller quantum computing plays could get snatched up by the bigger guys at some point in the future. Definitely could happen. Especially like, if Microsoft sees one of these smaller guys having like a piece of technology that they're missing in their piece of the puzzle, that's when they'll say, all right, I'm just going to buy this one right here. I do think that the big tech names are starting to be a little bit more cautious on their buyouts just because of antitrust concerns. From Mike here, Josh gave an incredible call out in GM today. Awesome. I was already in from a few days ago, but it was like clockwork when he started chatting about it. Can you expand on some of what he saw? I didn't even see the call out, Mike. So if Josh is still here, I think I just saw him walk by actually. If Josh is here, Josh, maybe you can respond to Mike on GM here. I could talk about the big picture technicals though. Really strong 3-day move, 2-day time price correction, ADMA is just about caught up, upside continuation today. That's exactly what you want to see. Intraday here looks a little bit trickier. My favorite spot is actually here when it's breaking highs to potentially get involved. From DJ, why does the QQQ exclude finance specifically out of all sectors? What does that tell us? Also, do you look at the Dow or any other top-heavy indices? I don't look at the Dow very often at all because it's really only 30 stocks. It's just not enough. It really doesn't paint a real picture of the market itself, and the same with the S&P, the NASDAQ, and the Russell do. So that's why I look at those three. And it's funny because the Dow is always the one that, like, I don't even know what price the Dow trades at. I can't even tell you. But it's funny when I speak to just, like, some regular person that I meet, and they're like, oh, like, the Dow was up, like, 50 billion points today. And I'm like, I have no idea what you're talking about. I have no idea what price the Dow trades at. I honestly can't even tell you. I have no idea how much it was up or down. And honestly, even when it comes to, like, the S&P and the NASDAQ, I usually can't tell you how many points it was up or down. I can tell you percentages. And honestly, it's percentages that matter. Because, like, even when it comes to the Dow, the Dow was down, like, 2,000 points today. Like, well, how much was it down on a percentage basis? Because the Dow is a much more expensive index than it was, you know, in 2010. You know, it's really the percentage moves that matter. You tell me the Dow is down 6%, I'll go, okay, something happened today. Is there a rule that the NASDAQ is not allowed to have finance-specific companies? Because if it is, I didn't know that. You know, obviously the NASDAQ attempts to be tech-focused, but I don't see why, especially in this day and age, you can't have a future finance company that is like a tech finance company that maybe could someday get added to the Qs. So I really don't know, DJ. Next here from Sebastian, entered Oracle. Oracle at 10:30, inside bar here. Okay, I had a good wake-up day yesterday. Inside day today. This inside candle doesn't mean too much to me because of the fact that it's right into the 8 and 21 EMA and that the stock is a little bit sloppy up until that point. But let me read the rest of your question. At 10:30 in the breakout of the wedge, 95.41. Okay. 10:40. But it broke the inside bar to the downside. Oh, it's not even an inside bar, 10:40. A little confused. The stop loss at 95.12. Okay. Down here. Am I reading this right? Am I reading this question right? I entered at 10:30 in the breakout of the wedge. Let me just reread your question. Oh, okay, I see the wedge here now. I see the wedge here. I don't know why I got these inside bars in my head. With a stop loss at the low of the pivot. Okay, that's exactly how you're supposed to trade wedges. I went to 96 and I sold some, but I didn't cover my risk because I like the daily chart. And I wanted to be a bit greedy. It didn't close good, but I decided to hold and wait. If tomorrow we can have continuation, can you give me some thoughts and tell me how you would have managed it? So I think I definitely would have tried to cover my risk given the opportunity in this, because I wouldn't really consider this to be like an A+ trade. I think that ideally you should only be that greedy if you really consider the trade to be an A+. On the daily here, we see that it woke up a little bit on the daily yesterday. Today's an inside day, so it looks okay. So what you need tomorrow is the inside and up. So you need this Qualcomm to get above 96.13. And it looks fine. You know, and the market we know is still a bull market, even if today wasn't super great. But I would say cover your risk, especially keeping the position overnight. And I don't know how heavy you are. But you're keeping a position overnight that closed more or less at your price where you haven't even covered your risk. You're taking on a good bit of added risk where you could find yourself. You could. I hope you don't. You could find yourself in a lose-lose situation tomorrow if this thing has a big gap down. And we definitely don't want that to occur. So don't put yourself in lose-lose situations would be my thought process, even though I do think that the chart looks good. So I think the technicals are on your side of the trade, but just from a pure risk management perspective, I get a little bit nervous. Next here is from Vishvendra asking if I could look at Lucid, LCID. Yeah, I mean, look, this Lucid's insanely extended, and it pulled back today. That's what it's supposed to do. This thing can't go straight up. Or, I mean, it kind of has been, but it shouldn't. So the stock taking a rest here and pulling back technically is a good thing. It's still extended by like $5 at the close. So I think that Lucid, I think that all these EV names right now, which I'm becoming a little bit concerned on, all need time. They just need time and to give us some clarity at this point. There's no setup in this LCID. It's very extended. This RIVN got a little crazy and pulled back. In some ways, maybe this is the best one because it pulled back best. I tried to short this yesterday. I was just a little bit too early, I guess. I lost some money on it, and I did not short it today. And even Tesla, which was nice and strong early here, I still think that this pattern needs to tighten up in Tesla. I think it needs to tighten up, and then we can get some better clarity. So that's it for LCID. Next here is from Zahor. Regarding the gap on Tesla, does your Tesla chart cover the pre-market gap or not? Is this why you see the gap on the daily chart? Yeah, my charts show gaps. So, you know, you can see here on the daily chart that there was a small gap up between yesterday's closing price and today's opening price. You can see that even better on the 5-minute chart. This wasn't a huge gap, though. So you can see, you know, technically the gap is from yesterday's closing price, which is right here, to today's opening price. So if yesterday here is the last 5-minute bar of the day, it closed at, let's just call it 10.54, and today it opened at 10.63. You know, we had like a $20 upside gap in Tesla, and that gap was basically filled on this downside tail here on the first bar. It basically fully filled that gap. ADMA catches up, and then the thing, you know, takes off and shows great relative strength. So yes. So yeah, I think that answers your question. Next from Sebastian. Oh, hey Pat, how'd the doctor go? Everything check out? I hope so. So some from Sebastian again. ENPH had some upgrades pre-market, and I bought it at 255.01. Oh, Josh is here. Someone had a question for you in the VTF. The cameras. I don't understand how these guys don't know. I don't know where the camera is in this thing.
Let's try that again. What's up, everybody?
Third guest of the day here, interrupting our meeting.
Tell him to ask the question again.
Mike asked you a question in the VTF. Ugh, man, my phone
GM?
just won't stop blowing up.
How good the GM was?
He wants to know what you saw to call it out.
I told him, pull up the chart. It was a great daily chart. The ADMA was catching up. The sector's been really hot, and I thought above yesterday's high, which was the same as this morning's high, it could get momentum and get going, and that's exactly what it did. As soon as it took out this morning's high and yesterday's high, which was literally the exact same price, got going, broke out.
There you go, from the man himself,
Question
Josh
asked,
Leffler.
question answered.
All right, back to Sebastian here on ENPH. Great looking daily chart. Upgraded this morning, so you're definitely focused on the right stuff. You bought 255.01. Okay. But really didn't give a ton of continuation to hold. Thoughts on the idea? Yeah, again, I think you're focused on the right stuff. This is a great looking chart. It got upgraded. This is exactly the type of stuff we're looking for continuation. You know, you're buying this thing here early on in the day as it's breaking higher. Yeah, you know, I would say that the rollover here in the middle of the day and into the close is probably a little bit disappointing, but the market today was a little bit disappointing, so it just kind of is what it is. But definitely the right stuff. Next here from DJ again. What's the most useful applicable book you've read for trading? I got a few. I think that I don't even consider you to be a real trader if you haven't read Reminiscences of a Stock Operator yet. Jesse Livermore story. So you got to read Reminiscences of a Stock Operator. My favorite book on technical analysis is Technical Analysis on Multiple Timeframes by Brian Shannon. My favorite book that's on prop trading would be One Good Trade by Mike Bellafiore. So there's some for you there. Have a good night, Glenn. Next here from Terry Jones. Derrick, my man, I appreciate all the work you put in for educating us. Let me know when I should head out west. All right, Terry, for sure. I'm going to be heading out end of January, early February to Idaho is the plan at this point. I'd like to get out there sooner, but got to get some work done here in New York first. Cool. Steve on Roblox. What did Roblox do today? Wow, Morgan. This is exactly what I said yesterday in the afternoon meeting, right? This thing could give a day two, and it totally did. This move is sick. I had a bid at 93.01. The low was 93.02. And then the next day, the low was 93.03. Oh, well. Can't catch them all, right? So Roblox in the 5-minute chart between 11:50 and 3:40. Okay, yeah, tight range digesting the huge move. There's chop. Can you have a look and tell me your thoughts if you were trading this? Was this trying to figure out, reevaluate my game plan until the stock decided to not be so choppy? Yes, I mean, unless you were putting trades on in here, I don't think that there's anything to reevaluate. You should just follow the game plan that you already have on the trade itself. The fact that the stock went choppy sideways here for these, 4 hours or whatever it was, 5 hours, is like the best thing you could hope for as a bull for the name. This thing is super extended on the daily chart. This thing should time or price correct. And if you can get a time correction, it's going to be so much more bullish and so much more less painful as far as giving back open P&L than a price correction will be. So, yeah, I mean, it just, there's still obviously a lot of demand in this. It reached an area where it was extended enough that the extension created supply, and the demand and the supply are more or less equalized in a $3 range here for 5 hours. That's what you want. And you want those bulls to be able to continue to hold in. So, overall, it's a good thing, but it's still super extended. So that thing probably needs time now. You got the second day. You got the second day. Could a third day happen? Yeah, I wouldn't count on it. According to Investopedia, the QQQ is the largest 100 non-financial companies is the NASDAQ. I've never heard it actually said like that before, but if it's on Investopedia, it's got to be right? From Lenkov. Do you think there is an opportunity to buy the dip in PayPal, SE, Fig, and Roku for a swing? Yeah, do I? Yes, but we've got to be very careful buying stocks on the way down, and we really want to make sure that we have a signal on this thing. I don't like what this PayPal looks like yet. There's no extension on it, and if anything, it's starting to create a bear flag. SE, I'm assuming got hit on earnings. I don't know what the numbers look like. I actually like that it broke this 310 and closed above it. So this thing could bounce further, but this one's not really super extended either. But I would prefer, between those two, I'd prefer to be buying SE than PayPal right now. That's for sure. And FIG. I'm not getting a symbol on FIG. Roku. This Roku is very broken right now. I don't like Roku. It had bear flag continuation on a downgrade today. This would have been a great short today, actually. And I know I don't love doing a lot of short selling in strong markets, but downgrade, bear flag, breakaway gap. What else do you need? And the risk looks like it might have been reasonable. Cool. Next here from Brent. Are there many notable differences between what you teach and the pristine method? Was this the foundation of your and Scott Ruther's program? I have never gone through the pristine method, so I can't really give you much feedback on that. I'm pretty sure that Scott has been trading for longer than the pristine method has existed. I don't think that I have. Pristine method is something that the folks over at T3 Live sell. I've seen bits and pieces of it. It looks like a great intro to technical analysis. I've never gone through it entirely myself, so again, I can't really give you that much feedback. My approach to markets is created by me, and it's created by me from a decade plus of experience, and it's created by me from just learning and working with many people over the course of those 10 plus years, and first and foremost from my own experiences, and just putting together everything I've learned from as many people as possible into a system that works for me. So I can't really give you too much feedback besides that, because I haven't actually gone through Pristine myself. ENPH also bought an EV charging company, right? Trying to get into that space. I actually don't know the answer to that question. Charlie asking what the second book about technical analysis was called. Technical Analysis on Multiple Timeframes by Brian Shannon. Max greed with tight stops, but that's like an oxymoron. You can't have max greed and tight stops in an extended stock like that in Roblox. Steve, you want to be in this. I don't think you want to be buying Roblox today. You want to be in this already and just continuing to get paid. And if you're being greedy on Roblox, it means that your stop loss is yesterday's low right now, and you're waiting patiently for a bull flag or a price correction that can enable you to raise your stop. Ricky, Roblox curious. Why did you have a bid at 93.01? I wouldn't be a short. Wouldn't it be a short if it broke lows? Or were you looking for 93 to hold? So 93 was a little bit of a random price. I wanted to build in versus $90. I knew the stock had gapped and traded to well above 100 on that first day post the earnings report. And I thought that on a pullback based on where the ADMA was and the degree of extension versus where I wanted to get in versus where I was willing to give it to, which is $90, I thought that starting to build a position at $93 was an appropriate risk based on an understanding of extension, correction, and risk reward. So having a bid at 93.01 was random. I had the bid at 93.01, when the stock was at $98 or something like that. Well before I put in that low. Show up giving me a link. Yes, that's the one. And I gotta get a cut. I gotta get a cut from these authors selling all these books. Will I be buying Roblox if it goes down in the mid or low 90s? I can't answer that question at this point. The answer to the question at this point is that Roblox should never see the low 90s again. So, if it's back in the mid to low 90s, something's wrong. So I got to assess what's wrong and whether or not that dip is buyable. The question at this point is whether I'd be willing to buy in the 105 to 110 area, which is also a maybe. What is an example of when to raise your bid? When you're not getting filled, I guess. Oh, thanks, Vero. When you're not getting filled, David. It's also going to be very heavily situation dependent, so it's difficult for me to answer the question. The question is that an example of when to raise your bid? So I assume he means me having the bid at 93.01. And then I guess if I was looking at it very closely at that time, maybe I could have found a way to take the offer to get involved, something like that. But I didn't. I was just sitting there on the bid and never got filled. So it's unfortunate. I actually have like a book that's just on technicals written. I could easily write another book that's like all about stories over the course of my career. Or maybe at some point I can combine the technical book with the book on stories to make it sound good. But it's really just kind of based on my training program. Is Bed Bath & Beyond going again? Is it doing this thing again? Oh my God! Is there news in this Bed Bath & Beyond that's having it do this again? I'm like happy and frustrated at the same time right now on this Bed Bath & Beyond. I'm gonna do this now after hours? We were all long earlier. Oh man. Everybody's upset. Everybody was in this today. Oh man. All right, gang. It's 10 after 5. I'm tired. I don't know if you guys can tell just by watching me today. I'm a little bit beat. So I'm gonna end the meeting here, and instead of going home and getting some rest, I'm probably just gonna be sitting here trading Bed Bath & Beyond. I'll see everybody tomorrow. Have a great night.